Today, I'm riding this sleeper train for 97 hours across an entire continent. I'll show you exactly what it's like to live on board this train from economy to first class, from how you shower, the food you get, and what it's like to sleep on board. There's even separate viewing cars to enjoy one of the world's longest railway journeys, from mountains to cities to wilderness. Let's pick up my story at the beginning of this epic adventure in Toronto, Canada.
Well, hello there and welcome back to the channel. You join me here bright and early at Toronto Union Station, where we're going to be catching the Canadian. Super excited about this, although a little daunted as we're going across an entire continent.
Opened in 1927, Toronto Union Station is a landmark in its own right. It's Canada's largest and most opulent railway station, designed in a bourgeois style back in 1913. It's certainly stood the test of time and is a fitting space to start our epic journey. We're in prestige class today, so instead of checking in at the counter, we're directed to the business class lounge, adjacent to the main ticketing hall. After a warm Canadian greeting, our bags are checked, tickets validated, and we're shown into the lounge. Naturally, let's begin with a caffeine hit. It's still early after all. With coffee in hand, let me show you the special lounge within a lounge which prestige guests have access to. In fact, this section is entirely for us as there are no other guests in first class. In what seems like no time at all, we're welcomed to board at our leisure. Our friendly concierge Natalie escorts us through the station to our platform. Here we are then, our train, the world famous Via Rail Canadian, our home for the next 97 hours. With its pedigree dating back to the first transcontinental passenger trains of 1886, this is a service rooted in history. It wasn't however until the 1950s that a new luxury offering came to light, known as the Canadian. What makes this so special is the train still operates the original 1950s Budd stainless steel cars. Oh, and it also appears on the Canadian $10 bill. Our first class prestige carriage is located to the rear of the train in car 130. There are 6 ensuite bedrooms per carriage and we're in room D today, right in the centre. This is my preference for a smoother journey.
Well, welcome on board and yet again, welcome back to the channel. Millie.
Hi.
You're about to say you're back. I think that's your catchphrase, isn't
it?
Back. But anyway, welcome to our room, our prestige class room, where it's home for the next 5 days. Let's get settled in. We're going to set off and we'll show you all around.
After a few minutes, we're notified it's time for departure, and so begins the constant movement for the foreseeable future. So where is the world's second longest passenger train taking us? We'll cross the northern Ontario lakelands, the wide open prairies of Manitoba and Saskatchewan, before passing the Alberta and British Columbian Rockies, finally arriving into Vancouver on day 5. As we trundle slowly out of Toronto, we're treated to epic views of the CN Tower. It's actually more relevant than you'd think, as the CN Tower was commissioned by the Canadian National Railway Company back in 1973. Anyway, back to our prestige compartment. We're offered champagne and canapes to begin with. This certainly is a far cry from Amtrak. With that, let's take a proper look around our room. This is the very best class of travel within the Via Rail network and offered exclusively on the Canadian, with a huge panoramic window and a comfy leather-adorned L-shaped couch for use in the day, and this will convert to a comfortable double bed by night. There's even a TV loaded with a variety of movies and TV shows. There's a mini bar which can be stocked with drinks of your choosing, replenished throughout your journey. There are several power outlets which will keep your devices charged, with AC being controlled via a central control panel. You're also able to call your concierge at any time, anything from room service to turn down. It's a smart space, that's for sure, but it needs to be for this price point. There's also an ensuite bathroom, complete with shower and Le Labo amenities, though we'll take a closer look at this later on. Anyhow, I make it time for lunch. Each meal is served in 2 sittings, and sometimes 3 during peak summer travel. In Prestige you get the first pick of timings, and we've gone for the later sitting today. Aside from room service, meals are all served in the dining carriage, which is located one car down the train. It's a lovely place to be with huge panoramic windows and seating arranged into place settings of 4. That is aside from our separate booth to the rear, which has been reserved just for Millie and I. Shall we take a look at the menu then? An impressive 4 options for main is offered, along with soup of the day and a selection of desserts. In terms of drinks, these are chargeable to most passengers, however prestige guests get these included. Naturally, let's begin proceedings with an ice cold DC as our orders are placed. It's certainly started to get a lot busier in here. Remember, it's communal seating for most, so be prepared to make some new friends. Soup of the day turns out to be a tomato served with a Kellogg's cracker. I can't say I've been served such a combo before, but hey, it works really well. A few minutes later and we're served our main. Millie goes for the spinach and ricotta cannelloni, complete with a rich tomato sauce and garlic ciabatta. Meanwhile, I opt for the pulled pork sandwich. And as if this isn't enough, there's apple crumble and chocolate ice cream. Top marks all around, albeit I'm now rather full. Just as lunch concludes, we pass over the famous Parry Sound Trestle Bridge, completed in 1907 by the Canadian Pacific Railway. At 105 feet high, the trestle provides single-track passage for westbound traffic, whilst eastbound uses Canadian National tracks. This also means that we've arrived at our first fresh air break. Better get wrapped up warmly, it's certainly well below zero outside currently. Parry Sound is a popular vacation destination, from hiking trails to the beautiful shores of Georgian Bay. However, today I'll just be attempting not to stack it on the incredibly icy platform.
We've already travelled a few hundred kilometres, so we're now in quite different surrounds to Toronto, of course, but time to get some fresh air and step onto some solid ground just briefly.
Back on board, I think it's time we explore some more of the train, including the dome car, sleeper cabins and the Bullet Lounge. Unfortunately, unlike the Royal Scotsman or Andean Explorer, there's no onboard spa facility on the Canadian sleeper train. However, in such instances, you can take the spa to you. Introducing the Swedish beauty tech brand Foreo, the sponsor of today's video. Foreo actually have a wide range of innovative devices for home, such as the UFO 2 at-home supercharged facial device that practically gives you a spa facial in just 2 minutes. It's the perfect gift for your significant other, but let me tell you a little more. The UFO 2 features a bunch of tech that you can only get at a spa, such as thermotherapy, cryotherapy and LED light therapy. It's app connected for true personalization, allowing you a professional level treatment from the comfort of your own home at a smaller cost. Millie is obsessed with the UFO 2 device and is constantly showing me how her skin is more radiant and softer. I have to admit I may have stolen this from her for testing purposes. It's great as it works for every skin type, so you can't make a mistake. It's the perfect gift or indeed an at-home spa treat for yourself. Thanks again Foreo for sponsoring today's video. Let's head to the Sleeper Plus car, which features 3 types of accommodation. Firstly, the cheapest, upper and lower berths. By day, 2 double seats which face each other, but by night the seat folds down to provide 2 comfortable beds with a privacy curtain. There are no ensuite facilities, but instead a toilet is located at the end of the carriage. Now let's go up another class to the private cabin for 1. These feature lockable doors, privacy curtains and an all-important ensuite. Well, not quite. With this being your toilet, no thank you. I'd instead opt for the toilet at the end of the carriage again. Both of these accommodations offer access to a shared shower facility. Lastly, the private cabin for 2. Unfortunately, I'm unable to access these on my trip because they're fully booked, but here's some stock footage so you get a rough idea. Back in our cabin, dusk begins to fall, whilst we're served a pre-dinner charcuterie board, which is certainly a lovely surprise. Okay, it's that time again. We're at the second sitting for dinner too, but remain at the same booth to the rear of the dining car. This evening's menu looks particularly special, and I'm sure you can guess what I'm going to be going for. Our drinks are served and orders taken, and in no time at all we're served an appetiser of salmon roe and creme fraiche on bellinis with a side salad of balsamic dressing. Not quite beluga caviar, but most tasty. As we drift through the darkness of Ontario, we're served a delicious pretzel roll along with our mains. We both opt for the steak, however not being a huge mushroom fan, having mine without the sauce. It's cooked to my liking of medium rare, top marks. To finish, we're served a rich, decadent chocolate brownie cake, which is utterly divine. With our tummies full, let's head back to our cabin for some sleep. It's worth noting that our room is accessible by hotel-style keycards, unlike the rest of the train which just lock from the inside. So our room has been transformed into some very comfortable sleeping quarters. Even down to some Belgian chocolate being placed next to our pillow, all in the detail, eh? It's time to boot the Timbs off and get ready for some sleep. It's been a long day of eating and exploring, with much more to undertake tomorrow.
The next day.
We awake to a stunning winter wonderland, still in fact in the state of Ontario. I make it time for a shower, which is always somewhat a challenge when you're moving at 70 miles an hour. Believe it or not, I'm actually a little peckish. Let's head to the dining car to remedy that. Can you tell it's a little cold out? You can almost build a snowman in the vestibule. Time to warm up with a piping hot caffeine hit, and of course a hearty brekkie. I opt for the transcontinental breakfast, consisting of scrambled eggs, hash browns and bacon. We're about to arrive into our first stop of the day, Sioux Lookout, so let's grab my jacket and head outside.